Hey y'all, my name is Ashley. I'm a writer, producer, and I am sick of Sister Souljah's shit.
Hot take. Okay. So how do I follow that up? Hey guys, I'm Kelly. I am a self-proclaimed book nerd, a writer, and I just want to know what is going on in Sister Souljah's mind. Like, I'm just very curious to know her viewpoint of women like Winter. And is it just, does she hate them? Or does she think she's punishing them or giving them their punishment, their due punishment?
Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Books We Should Have Read podcast, the show on a mission to get adults who typically aren't into reading through the exploration of Black literary classics. This pod is an extension to the BWSR community, and you can find our complete book list for this season at booksweshouldhaveread.com. Tune in each episode as we discuss what we liked and disliked about these reads and whether or not they're worth your time. The Coldest Winter Ever is about a young woman named Winter Souljah and the trials that she experiences when her family has a tragic, I don't know.
Is it really
and the
tragic?
Trials that she
Because it's like, they kind of... Pops, like her dad got popped. He's like a drug dealer, a big time drug dealer. It's not really tragic.
Okay.
It's just like what happens, I guess, right? Oh, my bad. Let me stop interrupting. Do your thing. Go off.
I'll say this. The Coldest Winter Ever is about a young woman named Winter Souljah and the experiences that she has after
her father's sent to jail. Really?
After her father's sent to jail.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
She was a drug princess, like a drug kingpin princess, had the flyest shit, flyest clothes, just attitude to boot. And she literally went from being on top of the world, money was never an issue, to, okay, now her dad is in jail. Her mom, and her little sisters are on the streets because they have no money. All their assets are frozen, so they're on the streets. And literally happens overnight.
So cool. Let's hit our character list up. Mm-hmm. So I got it. Let's see. Let's start with Winter. So Winter is the story's protagonist. She is in the story, it starts right around her 16th birthday. She is a proud Brooklynite. She's very ruthless. She is a hot girl.
For sure.
She was born, like her mom, she was born to a teen mother. But her mom had her with a drug kingpin, like Kelly just said. And so she had a very privileged existence. She was pampered. She got all of the material things that she ever wanted or could ever dream of. And she is promiscuous. She's a hot girl. She's promiscuous. But I'm trying to say who Winter is without putting too much judgment on it because she's only a product of her environment.
Yes. And it's okay to say this. She's a horrible person. Like, I think Sister Souljah did a great job in creating a character that you are like, what? But you end up rooting for her, which I think is the brilliance of Sister Souljah. Like, you still root for her even when she does all these horrible things and she does all this like shady stuff because she is a product of her environment. She literally only does these things to survive, to make it to the next day. So I think that is like, I think that's the best description you gave like of her. Is just she's a product of her environment.
Okay. So who should be next? Who do you think?
I think Ricky Santiago, because although he's in the book very briefly, Winter's hero worship of her father is a theme throughout the novel, right? Like she worships the ground he walks on. He's her hero, the only man she truly loves. And I even thought, like, when I was reading it, that he spoiled her rotten, showered her with gifts. And I believe that he was raising her to eventually take over his empire, right? Like he was teaching her everything from a very young age, like how to be a boss, be a drug dealer. And he was doing it in like small ways.
To be the support to the man who could take over his empire.
Like, okay, if this dude takes over, if I have this guy take over the empire, you his eyes and ears, so you need to know what's up. For sure.
And maybe to be different from her mom too, because her mom just seemed more of like a casualty than an actual helpmate, because her mom, I didn't hear nothing. Winter worshipped her dad so much, she didn't really say shit about her mom. Her mom doesn't even have a name in this book. We don't know what her mom's name is. But I think that's probably the role that the mom, that secondary fly-by-night type of parent, maybe she was like that with her kids, and then her husband too married her because of her looks, and she wasn't exactly his equal, so maybe he was breeding or grooming Winter to be the equal, if not
and I think
the queen pin.
I think that's for sure. And I just think that the way Santiago was, because when I think he wanted her to not depend on a man like her mother depended on him, because there's that scene when Winter, like when one of his soldiers looks at Winter, like, and he ends up like Santiago like slits his face like from ear to ear because he was staring at her too hard. And he was like, he basically had Winter on lock. He was like, nah, I don't want none of these dudes around my daughter. And he wanted her to be focused. Like, I think he just wanted her to not be like her mom. He didn't want her to be a teen mom. Knew that there was better out there for her, and wanted her to know that what's better for you isn't dependent on a man. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I don't know.
No, I agree, because Winter, when her father went to prison, Winter was that mom to her. Someone closed the door again. What the fuck?
I don't hear it, so you're good.
Okay. When Santiago goes to prison, Winter does become that figure for her mom and her sisters. Like, she is the brains of this operation.
Yep.
Okay, so Ricky Santiago, we talked about mom a little bit.
Yep. And then I have Sister Souljah, because she made herself a character in this novel. Yeah,
do we want to mention the sisters first before we get to Sister Souljah? Because I got a lot. Okay. Never mind.
No, mention the sisters. I always forget about them because they are such background characters. Like, they're just like wooden characters to me. But she does have 3 younger sisters, all named after cars.
All named after cars. So she has Portia Santiago, who has her own book. Does she have her own series, or she has her own book? I think she just has the Portia Santiago story. Kelly's like, I don't know. And then she has twin sisters who are pretty much toddlers when all this shit goes down, Mercedes and Lexus. And yeah, let's kick off Sister Souljah, the character of Sister Souljah.
Yeah. What's fascinating and what's interesting is that Sister Souljah made herself not even a cameo character, but she is a full-blown character with a storyline in this book, which is like, bro, I do not remember, because I've not been in school in over like a decade, but I'm pretty sure like creative writing classes, that's like rule number, don't make yourself a character in your own book. And then give yourself your own name. Like, maybe you can base a character off of yourself, but to like be like, no, I'm Kelly in my own book. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, it's very egotistical to me. It's very just like, it's weird.
It just you know what it is? It, to me, it effed up the flow of the book. Like, I feel like the flow, it just messed it up, because it took me out of this world that, like, these characters that Sister Souljah created, and then to put herself in it. It's like, I'm in a world that's a reality for some, but it's a fictional world. But then you have a real character in this fictional world. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and it's not like,
And the character,
yeah, and the character's like alive and well and wrote the book that I'm currently reading. It's just like, was a lot going on.
yeah, it's, I don't even know how to explain it without talking about her exact role in this novel is to antagonize Winter.
Yes.
So Winter's this hot girl, this terrible ass person, and Sister Souljah, on the other hand, is this woman who's beloved by her community and who is everything that Winter isn't, to the point where the young man who we'll get to, who Winter is obsessed with and who she wants to be with, that young man is obsessed with Sister Souljah.
Which, by the way, when you brought this up previously, I was like, oh shit. That is like, she definitely made like Winter's obsession obsessed with her. And it was just like another,
which is so telling.
Just another like, just, hit her where it hurts.
Mm-hmm. And so for me, for you to have so much hate and animosity towards this character, it makes me feel like you're projecting. And I know I keep talking about people for projecting, but we're seriously mirrors for each other.
Yes.
Like we were talking about earlier with like women who have this extensive, and I'm not just talking about women, because men have an extensive list for what they want in a woman too, but they're more likely to find that woman because we're all amazing. But for them, it's like really slim pickings for men. And that's no shade. That is just the reality. You can look at our population, you can look at demographics, you can look at all the facts. That's just what it is. But like women who have these like extensive or people, I should say, who have these extensive lists and like they have itemized what they want their perfect human to have. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's like a projection of like what you feel like you can't give yourself. Like, yeah, a lot of times. And like, so in this instance with Winter, I just feel like this character that you're created, that you have created, and then you have also gone so far as to insert your actual person into the narrative, that tells me that like you're a mirror of Winter, and like you are projecting all the things that you probably wish you could do but you couldn't do because of the European standards of beauty or whatever. I don't know. I'm making shit up at this point. But like, I don't know why, because I'm not in her head. I'm just saying it just sounds like you hate her because you ain't her to me.
I mean, that is a really good point. And like we touched on this a bit last week. For those of you just tuning in, our audio got jacked up, so we're re-recording this episode. But we talked about this like in our previous discussion, which was it's just very odd to see a writer, especially a writer that's writing fiction, right, hate a character so much that they created. That was my thing. Like, I really feel like she hates Winter. And as a writer, you care about your characters, even the ones that are despicable. Like, a part of that character, you created that character, so a part of that character is in you a bit, right? There's like something, that character came from you, so it's a part of you. So like, it's just so fascinating to me that she loathes and despises Winter so much, seemingly.
Yeah. Yeah, we can say seemingly. These are all our theories, y'all. Like, we don't know Sister Souljah. But that's just what it, and it, when I meet people like this, like out in the world, like I always take what they say with a grain of salt, because I'm just like, there's something underlying here. There's something pushing you to have this like hard of an opinion or stance on something.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Like that reaction, like the anger behind this, like their reaction to certain things or people. It's just like, there's more to this story than what you're really giving us.
And I would not feel this way had Sister Souljah not included Sister Souljah, her person, into this novel.
That's what I'm saying. I really feel like the character that Sister Souljah in the novel could have been Michelle, you know? For instance, like could have been a random
Dominique.
Like, somebody else. And I feel like it would have been, because I just feel like it pulls you out of the story a bit. Like, to me, it did anyway. It just like pulled me out, because I'm like, wait, Sister Souljah wrote the book. Sister Souljah's in the book. Sister Souljah hates or dislikes this character and is always trying to antagonize her. What? Like, okay, I guess.
To the point where Sister Souljah in real life is cool with the hip hop community, and then Sister Souljah in the book is cool with the hip hop community, and the hottest rapper is obsessed with her too. Everybody's coming to Sister Souljah to get life advice, and she's leading women on the right path to like supreme womanhood. Like, this is, you know, that's her role in the book.
Yeah.
And it's a clear line, like, to like how she is, and like there's a thread connecting these to how she is in the real world. And so it's just, it feels super narcissistic. And I'm not calling her narcissist. I'm just saying that this feels narcissistic because, like you were saying, it could have been Michelle, could have been Dominique. She could have had a different name and still have been her, but she had to make this character Sister Souljah.
Yeah, that's what's fascinating.
And that is crazy to me.
I wonder if she did interviews about this like 20 years ago, you know, when the book came out. Like, and I'm also interested to know, like, would this book be as big of a success if she released it in 2021 versus 1999? Would it be as big of a success
I don't know, because the story is good.
That's what I'm saying. The story is great.
Like, to the point where I am rooting for Winter Santiago. That's crazy.
We are rooting for a person who has been set up to be a trash human being. So that's the thing. Like, I still think the book would have done, like, if it was released this year versus 1999 or 1998 when it was released, it still would have done good because it's a great story.
Yeah. And I think it was so, what makes it such a classic is that it was one of the first of its genre, to hit like a New York Times best-selling list, for it to sell 1 million copies.
Crazy.
And like, so that's what makes it,
because you know, it was not only the community buying this. Like, I just picture like waspy white woman like in their house reading this and being like, like, going into this world of Winter Santiago. That's why I love that it was such a huge success, because it's just like, who did this book touch? Like, who bought this book?
I want
this
the breakdown. I would love to see that. This is before
Audible, before Kindle, so you had to go up in the store and buy it.
Like, people weren't buying books off Amazon like they are today. So you intentionally had to seek this one out. But okay, let's move on. Another character is Simone, who Wikipedia has down as Winter's nemesis. But like we just said, Sister Souljah is really, like, I don't know.
I think
we'll see.
Yeah, and I think Simone is definitely, to me, Simone is the traditional nemesis, right? She's the frenemy. Like, when Winter and Simone have a common goal, they cool. But as soon as they don't have a common goal, it's like they both watching each other's backs. Like, I'm watching you because I know how I am and I know how you are. So yeah, I'm keeping my eye on you, girl. And I think they are just like very, very like it's a very what's the word? Is it like tenuous? Like what's like it's just a very like the relationship is just so tenuous. It's just like, whoa, any second they gonna turn on each other.
Yeah. Yeah. But I enjoyed Simone as a character so much because I feel like Simone, like, I'm not going to say she grounded Winter, but she definitely helped me to ground Winter in my head. Like, bitch, you think you're so this and that, but we grew up in the same projects. Like, we grew up in the same hood.
Yeah, she was definitely, to me, she was the only character that stepped to Winter, that had the balls to be like, nah, girl, I'm good. Like, 'cause Winter, she has very strong personality, and she very easily commanded a room. But she could not command Simone. Like her and Simone, like the only, like when Simone was doing things for and with Winter is because Simone was also getting something out of it. Like Simone wasn't just doing favors. Nah, she knew what she was getting from the deal, and then she decided if it was worth her while to do it. So that's why I like Simone. She's a strong character.
She really is. Simone is Winter without the money and the access.
Yes. She's Winter if like Winter's dad was just like a regular drug dealer and they was just like a regular family in the projects.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Okay. Loved and appreciated Simone so much because that's Simone. Midnight. Winter's obsession. This young man worked Ricky Santiago.
Yep, worked for Ricky, was one of his soldiers, and then was like a lieutenant or something. Yeah, he was like
a lieutenant.
Yeah, he was like a lieutenant, because you know how Ricky was like all like, these are my soldiers, he's my lieutenant.
Oh yeah. But the cool thing about Midnight, like we said last time, was that he knew Santiago's business inside and out. But was clean. Santiago made sure to keep him clean. Like, so to the point where when Santiago went away, Midnight knew where to go to get the money. He knew where to go, to who to tell to do this or that, or so that in the event that Midnight or Santiago kept him so clean, in the event that if Santiago went away, anything could have happened to him. Midnight, nothing would happen to Midnight because Midnight's hands are clean.
Oh yeah, and Midnight would be able to beat it. Like, all right, pack up the shit, roll out. Yeah, he was very smart. Like, I think like that. Just, you know who? Okay, I ask you this because with The Hate U Give, because that's already filmed, it's kind of harder to do it. But like, who would you want to play these characters? Like, if an actor.
Okay. Winter Santiago to me is, I don't want to say this name because I'm not trying to be shady.
Who are you going to say?
I'm not trying to be shady.
No, just like, they don't even have to be actors. They could just be celebrities. Like, who, when you hear the name Winter Santiago, who do you picture? Because I have somebody that's not an actor, but they're famous that I picture.
Oh, okay. We're doing it like that.
Yeah, do it like that. Don't say actors, because I think that kind of muddles it.
Tinashe. I see Tinashe.
I was going to say Saweetie.
Ooh, that's
I think it's Saweetie, because I was like,
Saweetie is so sweet though. She's so sweet. I don't know.
Not thinking of their personalities. Don't put their personality, because Tinashe is very sweet too. Don't think of their personality.
She is very sweet.
Think of just their appearance, physical appearance. Like, I think Saweetie, the diamonds, the nails, the hair, the attitude, but that, you know, the confidence. I think Saweetie.
I'm going with you. I say Saweetie. For Midnight, I say Anthony Mackie.
Ashley. You know who I've said for Midnight?
Who?
My boy from Snowfall, Damson.
Damson Idris. Yeah,
I say him.
Oh, you should be a casting director. You're good at this.
I see. When I was going back and rereading it, I was like, oh, he would be great for Midnight.
Yeah, Damson for sure, especially after seeing what he can do on Snowfall. I know we're not going off of talent per se.
Yeah, but just
like that, seeing like that role, girl, for sure. He'd be a great Midnight, but those are the only ones that I can think of. Sister Souljah obviously would be Sister Souljah because she would insist on it.
Who was that? I just so shady. Oh my god! And then Ricky Santiago, I think would be like Shamar Moore.
Really? I was thinking like Pooch Hall.
I don't know, because to me, I think because as Winter describes him, he's just like women like are really attracted to him. He's smooth, this and that. Like I just think Shamar Moore came to mind because he was like the 90s guy, like one of the 90s guys.
He is.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
But I think for me, what switches it up for me is that in the 2000s, he got like super weird and like started calling women baby girls. And so that's all I see is now weird Shamar Moore.
I just look at it as aesthetically. Like I'm not looking at like, I take out like what they do, what they say, just aesthetically, who do you picture? Like, I could see visceral reaction.
I could see a Shamar Moore because of the way that she described.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Winter
like,
described her dad like super weirdly.
Just that is a whole nother thing. It's just
very inappropriate to me. It was just like, oh, okay. I was waiting for her to tell me that she had an inappropriate relationship with her father. Like I was really ready for it.
I knew that wouldn't happen because he just like there was no vibe that he was like that because he was in. Contrary to what, you know, we could think, he really loved her mom. Like he loved her, doted on her, treated her like a queen. So I just thought Winter, like I did not like that how Sister Souljah wrote Winter's obsession and almost hero worship of her dad because it was like very creepy.
It was very creepy. But yeah, that was a good exercise. Yeah. We were on Midnight, though. Midnight, though, in the story is obsessed with Sister Souljah. Writes her these letters about himself. His real name is Bilal. Ooh, I love that name, too. But I see Anthony Mackie. But
listen, I'm going with Damson, and that's just it. Because he's got that beautiful skin. Damson. He's got that beautiful skin. And I just think, like, when I see that, I'm just like, Midnight.
Yeah, I can totally see Damson. But anyway, just as Winter is obsessed with him, he's obsessed with Sister Souljah. And so that, I mean, those are the... Oh, Bullet. You want to talk about Bullet?
All I got for him is ain't shit nigga. That's literally my note for him. He is, he's to me, he's just like, he was smart in that he saw the opportunity to use Winter to get ahead and he took it. And at the same time, she was using him too, but he was a little bit more smart because for all the things we have to remember that Winter grew up very sheltered and privileged. Whereas a Bullet, he's been on the streets. It's like he's been in the streets basically his whole life. So that's what he had up on her.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I'm completely mesmerized by like Bullet's actions. Like I'm still blown away. Like I keep thinking about that scene when he pulls the okie doke on Winter. Whew. And the cops come, bitch. I did not see that coming. Yo, that is good writing.
That great
good writing.
Because you're like, wait a second. Because you're thinking everything's good. All right. And then that, and you like, oh.
And it was so simple. Like the demise of Winter Santiago was just so simple.
It was not like a huge climactic event. It was just like.
Did not see it coming other than like, I was getting closer and closer to the end, so I knew something was going to happen, right? And I also went into this novel knowing that Winter Santiago went to prison at the end of this novel. But as the only thing that told me that it was coming to an end were the page numbers getting higher.
You just didn't know how it was going to happen, but you knew it was about to. Yeah, I mean,
and the way it happened,
phenomenal job by Sister Souljah. Is there something you want to advertise on Books We Should Have Read? Email us at info@booksweshouldhaveread.com. That's info@booksweshouldhaveread.com. So, the thing that, like, for me was, and I brought this up when we talked about Ricky, a theme throughout the novel is Winter's hero worship of her father and her relationship with her father and how she, like, idolizes him and also at the same time always wants him to be proud of her, right? Like, she wants him to be like, yeah, that's my daughter. Like, I raised her right. Like, everything she does is with the hope of making her dad proud or getting back what she feels is her father's turf. And I just find that so fascinating, and that she is all these horrible things. She could be all these horrible things, but at the end of the day, she's truly a daddy's girl. Santiago was the #1 businessman in our area by the time I was 13, running things. Although he taught me never to sweat the small stuff, it seemed like every move he made, he thought about carefully. I would hear his key unlocking the first door into our apartment. Then the men he was with, his co-workers, they would stand in the limited space between the first door and the heavy metal second door that actually led into our place and talk. After they handled their matters, you would hear the first door open, then slam again. Pops would lock it, and then unlock the second door to come inside. Whatever pressure he felt, whatever weight or business he had was left between those two doors, because when he came inside, he brought his sexy smile, excited eyes, and power along with him. He would show us all love. He would have whatever any of us had asked for in his pocket, no matter how small the request, down to a Snickers bar. If any of us had a problem of any kind, we could ask him and he'd make the answer so simple that I'd wonder how I couldn't have figured it out myself. If something was on his mind, he'd go in the back to a private room he had Woody, the carpenter, build and pull out his chessboard. Funny thing was, he wouldn't play with anybody, just against himself. When I'd asked him why, he'd say, "That's how I stay on top, baby. I look at life from every position. I play from every side. You gotta know what each man on the board is thinking, down to the littlest motherfucker, like the pawn." Now, Daddy would explain that other players are quick to sacrifice or ignore the pawn, but he was too smart for that. "The pawns are my soldiers," he would say. "If I surround myself with strong soldiers, give them all a stake in the game, then they keep the hood strong and tight." He would look into my eyes as if to ask, do I understand? I didn't want him to know that I dig him so much that I'd listen to him for as long as he wanted to talk, but I didn't give a fuck about a game of chess. He would break down how around our way there were always some young kids trying to spread their wings and test his operation. He said they mostly stupid though, because no smart guy is going to try and kick in the door of the big man unless he got an extra tight, professional, strong, and ruthless crew. But every now and then, some dumbass young kid who had seen too many Scarface type movies will try to overtake what can only kill him. He loses, Santiago said, knocking the Black King over on the chessboard. He loses because he never understood the game. And like, if she could have in any way predicted or stopped her father from going away to jail, she definitely would have. She would have figured it out and did it. So that, like, my interesting thing, because I think that is the catalyst. I think her relationship with her dad is the catalyst and what pushes her throughout the novel. Also, other than being like, she doesn't want to be homeless. Again, she's used to a certain lifestyle. But I think that is also a huge part of it, is making sure that my dad knows that I'm good and I'm taking care of my sisters and my moms. Because she looked at that.
That's what he would want me to do.
And she looked at it as once her dad was out the picture, it's my responsibility. Because she's like, Mom can't take care of us. So I got to make sure we good.
What stood out to me was Lauren's okey doke on Winter Santiago. So, someone who we did not mention in the character list, which rightfully so, I think we made the right call not to do that, was Lauren, who is Sister Souljah's sister in the novel Sister Souljah's sister. I'm so shady.
You really are, but it's all right.
Yeah. And so this Lauren, to me, is an aspiring hot girl, but being in her sister's roof, like, she doesn't really have the opportunity to, like, really get into the level of hot girlness that she would like to get into. And so when Winter ends up staying at the home for a little bit, her and Lauren get close. I would say close. They become friends. They go shopping together. The thing about Lauren is that she wants to be a hot girl so bad that she's literally copying everything that Winter does, everything that Winter wears. At least that's what's on the surface. But when you dig deeper, Lauren knows what type. I like to think that Lauren knew what type of girl Winter was, and knew that Winter is an opportunist and is only there to take advantage of this living situation, to get everything that she could out of this situation, and then to dip off and go do her own thing. And so because Lauren knew that, she was prepared when Winter came home early from that charity event that Sister Souljah was throwing. She knew that this bitch was on her way out the door. And so Lauren hit her where it hurt. In my boldness, I walked to the front of the elevated stage. As soon as Souljah spotted me, she leaned over and asked, "What's the matter? You okay?" In the baby voice, the one I had watched Lauren use so effectively, I said, "My stomach's going crazy. I just threw up in the bathroom. My mouth tastes so nasty. I'm sorry." With a full face of concern, she responded, "You've done a lot to help out. I have a check for you for all the work you've done for me when Lauren wasn't around." Just then, a young suited man was at the podium introducing Souljah. "Go to the house," she said. "I have some baking soda and Pepto-Bismol upstairs in the medicine cabinet, whichever you prefer. Lay down for a while. You'll feel better soon." In an unusual move, she planted a kiss on my cheek. As I looked up at her in surprise, she smiled and said, "In all the commotion, I forgot to tell you that I spoke to Bilal this morning." "Who?" "Bilal. Midnight," she repeated. "Your cousin." Gagging for air and holding my stomach, I said, "Oh, Midnight. We'll talk," she shouted over the crowd's applause. She gestured goodbye with her hand, then stepped to the podium. A track star couldn't have been faster than me. My legs were carrying my body swiftly toward the house that was a little more than a few blocks away. I rang the bell. It took about 5 minutes for Lauren to answer the door. Even though I had my poker face on, my forehead was sweating too much for a winter afternoon. "What's wrong?" she asked. "How did it go? It can't be over so soon." "No, it just got started." "Then what are you doing here?" "I got some serious stomach pains out of nowhere." "Did you tell Souljah you were leaving the church?" "Yeah, we talked. She sent me home to get some medicine. She said I should get it from upstairs in the medicine cabinet." "Do you want to see Doc?" "No, I'm just going to take some of the Pepto and head back to the church to help out." "Oh," she said suspiciously. Upstairs, I ran into Souljah's bedroom. I took the key off of her jewelry box, which was right on top of her cluttered dresser. I opened the file cabinet and flipped feverishly through the files. I had to check each one for the first name, Bilal. I didn't know his last name. Finally, I got to Bilal O'Day. I grabbed the folder. I snatched the New York Times off of Souljah's bed and placed the folder and all the contents in between the pages to conceal it. In Lauren's room, I grabbed my empty Nike luggage bag and placed inside it everything that absolutely could not be left here. I surveyed Lauren's dresser for my belongings, saw my beeper, and threw it in the Nike bag. Out of nervousness, I checked my red Coach bag again. No problem, my money was still there. I grabbed a roll of 20s, peeled off 2 of them, and slid them into my red leather jacket pocket for easy access. I opened the small drawer on the bureau and collected my diamond necklace, my bracelet, and my earrings. I put them into my red bag. My lipstick, hair comb, brush, and of course my box cutter were the last to go in. I double-checked everything. With my hands full, I stepped lightly down the 5 flights of stairs. I was so excited to be leaving this place forever. Panic racked my body when I hit the landing approaching the last flight of stairs. I was staring down at Lauren, who was standing at the front door, paying what appeared to be a delivery man. There must have been 20 medium-sized boxes covering the foyer floor. "Are you going somewhere?" Lauren asked. "Yeah, back to the church." Without saying anything, Lauren's eyes dropped down to my Nike bag. "Oh yeah, I didn't have a chance to see my mother yesterday. She was pretty upset, so I'm going to see her right after the benefit finishes." "Oh," she said suspiciously. "Well, can you help me out with these boxes before you leave? They're Doc's medical supplies." With my hands full, I looked at all 20 or so boxes. I was hoping when Lauren saw in my face that I really didn't want to do it, she would say never mind. But she didn't. I was leery about acting different than normal, so I agreed to help. "Come on, put all that stuff down. 4 hands will be better than 2. I kept checking the clock as we moved the boxes the short distance from the foyer through the big wooden doors into the office. The final destination was the supply closet. No matter what, I kept sweating. Even my palms were sweating now. My heart was pounding so fast I swore Lauren could hear it. I reassured myself I was being ridiculous. As soon as we finished, I picked up all my stuff. As casually as I could, I said, "All right, Lauren, I'll see you either late tonight or tomorrow morning." "Sure, thanks," she said. "See you." Outside, the cab driver asked, "Where are you headed to?" For seconds, nothing would come out of my mouth. I did not know. "To a hotel," I finally said. "What hotel?" "The Marriott in New Jersey, right over the bridge and off the highway." "In Jersey," he repeated. "That's going to cost you $35. "No problem." But he still didn't move the cab. I reached into my pocket and gave him one of my 20s to get him to start driving. As I looked to my right, I saw Lauren's face disappear as the window curtain being held by her hand dropped back into place. We pulled off. When I opened the file tucked inside the New York Times, the first thing that fell out were old newspaper clippings. The first article I picked up had a picture of my father in our house in Long Island. The second paragraph mentioned me by name, as well as my mother. "Fucking bitch, Souljah," I mumbled. She knew who I was all along. But the fact of the matter is, I got the last laugh. She would never be able to prove I took that money. She had too many people collecting it, and no system to account for who had what. As I checked further into the file, there were letters in opened envelopes and loose papers. Some letters were from Midnight to Souljah. The papers were copies of letters from Souljah to Midnight. There would be no more secrets. I was going to look through everything and read every word. Most importantly, I would soon discover, I hoped, where Midnight lays his head at night. "We need a major credit card to secure your registration, ma'am," the lady at the front desk said. "You don't take cash?" "Yes, if you would like to pay cash, that will be fine. It will be $200 for the room and a $20 refundable deposit for the phone." Happy to shut the snotty receptionist up, I unzipped my Coach bag and reached in for my roll of 20s. Instead, I pulled out 2 bottles of Wet n Wild lip gloss and a half-eaten chocolate chip cookie. I stood staring at my own hand as if it had 6 fingers. The picture frame froze. Everything in front of my eyes stuck in the same motionless position. Lauren, described by her sister as the trickster, has switched her red leather Coach bag with mine. As I squatted down to check the bag, not because I had hopes that it was mine, but out of disbelief, I flipped it over and emptied its contents onto the hotel carpet. There was nothing of value in the bag. The inside stunk from the odor of 2 bottles of rubbing alcohol she had in there. She must have thrown those in at the last moment so I wouldn't notice the weight change. As every muscle in my body collapsed from the sheer stress of the situation, my butt hit the floor. The voice of the hotel woman was flying over the counter and dropping down onto my ears. "Excuse me, miss, do you want the room?" "I'll be back," I called to her. I used my hands to sweep all the junk, except the crumbs, back into the bag. I walked away in slow motion, lifting my Nike bag off the bellhop's trolley. And I just love that so much because it was so unexpected. Like, I didn't, for the life of me, did not see that coming. And it like shook me like, okay, this is a hood tale, but this is a different type of hood tale. Like, this is like a one that's been, I feel like it was just so complex that maybe Sister Souljah experienced that in her own personal life. Sister Souljah, the author now, experienced that in her own life or heard a story like that. Because that's just not something that I
witnessed it, like saw some shit like that go down and was like, yeah, this stuff happens.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it was just so cool to me. That's seriously one of the few highlights that I had of this Sister Souljah inserting herself into the narrative part of the book.
Yeah, Lauren was definitely, I thought she was again, it's easy to not include her in the character list because it's almost like she don't really need to be included because Sister Souljah shouldn't have been a character in here. But it's like, but I agree with that. Like that whole scene and the writing for that scene again, which is why this book sold 1 million copies. Like, let's be real. Like I have my issues with Sister Souljah inserting herself into the narrative and trying to figure out like, who does Winter represent? Like, who is the character Winter representing? And does she really hate Winter? Like, what's up? Or she's in Winter as a cautionary tale. Like, maybe we're completely looking at this wrong. Like, maybe it's not so much like, because now I'm thinking about it, like, maybe it's not that that she hates Winter or hot girls, but she's just like, you know, baby girl, play with fire, your ass gonna get burnt. And this is my cautionary tale to you.
And I think it's all of that. Mm-hmm. I think this was supposed to be a cautionary tale. I wholeheartedly believe that was the intent, right? But I can't, because you put yourself in the narrative and then made yourself. It
throws it off. That's what I'm telling you. That's what threw it off to me. It just throws the story off. It really does.
Wait, do you hear that? That silence could be filled with an advertisement for your new product or brand. Email us at info@booksweshouldhaveread.com if you'd like to be a sponsor for and have your ad placed within the Books We Should Have Read podcast. We can't wait to welcome you to the family.
So for my rating for The Coldest Winter Ever, I rated it a 3.5. And simply because I think it is a great story. Like, it is phenomenal. I think if it was released in 2021, it would be just as big of a hit. I still am waiting for it to be made into a TV show or a mini series or something. I know like years and years ago, there was a rumor that Jada Pinkett Smith had bought the rights to it. And I don't know. I'm still waiting for that because I think it needs to happen. But the biggest thing, and we've talked about it throughout the episode, my biggest issue is that Sister Souljah put herself in the book. I just don't think a writer should be a part of the story. It throws you off. It threw off the pacing. It took me out of the story that I was so involved in because Sister Souljah made this amazing world where I felt like I'm watching Winter from the sidelines navigate this situation she's in, scheme, scam, and be a bad bitch. And then Sister Souljah being a character and all of this is just like, I mean, okay. Yeah. I guess.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yes. That's my rating. My rating is a 3.5. out of 5.
I too gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
For the exact same reasons. I thought that this story was so good, y'all. Like, I was hooked, and I read it as if Winter was talking to me, like me, 32-year-old Ashley, this excuse me, what the heck, 32-year-old Ashley, listening to this 16, 17-year-old young hot girl tell me about, and we lived 2 completely different lives, and we're just getting to know each other. She's sitting across the table from me, and she's just giving me the rundown.
She's like spilling all the tea. Like, all right, so Beth, this is what
Spilling
happened.
all the tea.
That's what she's saying.
But when I will say, when she started the novel and she was just like, let me set the record straight, I don't fuck with Sister Souljah at all, it made me think that Sister Souljah's purpose was to antagonize her.
Yes.
So I could not unsee that.
You know what? You are 100% right. And again, that's her inserting herself. You're right. It's just like, it's crazy. I wish I knew. I wish.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so my problem with it was that Sister Souljah was Sister Souljah as Sister Souljah. And it's just like, I feel like it was clearly intentional on your part. And so I spent the whole book trying to figure out, like, okay, Sister Souljah is Sister Souljah in this book, but Sister Souljah is also writing this book as Winter. So can I really take everything that Winter says as bond? Or should I read it through the eyes of Sister Souljah? Which is why I feel like she hated this woman.
Yeah, and again, it's like, that's why it just feels like, okay, does she hate Winter? And also, I just think it's such a disservice to your reader, kind of, to have us questioning all that, right? We always talk about the what Toni Morrison does, and that she just gives you what you need to know and expects you to put together the pieces. Whereas this is like the opposite of that. Like, there's just too much going on, and now I'm questioning too many pieces. I don't know where the pieces go. And
I don't know who's telling me the truth.
Like who's lying? Like, what's going on? But at the same time, it's a good ass story going on in the background, but I got other questions. So that's what's hard. And I think that, like, we talk about it, Angie Thomas does a really great job of that as well. She doesn't underestimate her reader. She gives you what you need to know, especially in Concrete Rose. And so with this, I just think that there was just too many questions going on for a story that was flowing. So it flows so well until we get to that.
Yeah. It flows. Yeah. Seriously, whenever Sister Souljah's name came up, it was like a interruption.
Like a record scratch.
Yeah, seriously. That's how it was. And so I thought the writing, like I said, again, I read it as if Winter was talking to me herself in her vernacular. So whatever. I thought the story was amazing. Like I said, so many okie doke, flip it on you situations that only someone who has been there can honestly write about. Like,
yeah,
in
definitely.
my head, I don't see how it can make sense otherwise. And so it just, but Sister Souljah being Sister Souljah in this novel, and then Sister Souljah writing the novel as Winter, it just like, is Winter really as bad as you're trying to make her seem, girl? Or do you just really hate her?
Yeah.
And hate hot girls, period.
Because now you're questioning the author. You're questioning the author's integrity. Is it weird to say that? Like,
I think so.
It's like
because you're supposed to be the subject matter expert, and I'm supposed to be reading everything through your point of view. But when you cross those lines, it just really, like you said, it compromises the integrity of these characters and of the story and of your like, you wanting to make this a cautionary tale or branding it as a cautionary tale. It's just really just like, oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's not convincing.
Yeah, agreed. So, I mean, but 3.5 out of 5 is still great because that book is solid. I gotta look up and find out if they're gonna Like who does Jada Pinkett still own the rights? Jada, we need you to take a break from Red Table Talk and let's get rolling on this.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? We mentioned this in the last time, but I could totally see this as a series, like we said, on HBO. And did we put Janixa Bravo, the woman who created Zola? Did we?
Who's now, yes, Janixa would be
the person to
oh, yes. And she's doing Kindred, right?
And now she's doing Kindred. And I saw that and I was just like, hey, Janixa, we're about to be best friends because I would love to co-host that podcast with my best friend, Kelly. Hit us up. But also with this, I could totally see, because Zola, it was so larger than life, I could totally see her taking that same energy in a story like this, because these characters in this book
are larger than life. It's so out
so
there.
Ridiculous. It has to like be on the same level as like a Zola, and I just think that's beautiful,
and I think
that's something that I will watch.
Black female director to like we need Black women to be the ones doing this, because they're going to give it the authenticity that it deserves and it needs.
Yeah. Because this, y'all, like, other than us ranting about how we hated Sister Souljah inserting herself in the narrative, this story deserves to be on a big and small screen.
Yes.
I don't know. I would buy into this, like, because it's so good.
It's so good. And it's like, oh gosh. And you're going to breeze through it. Like, the thing is it's a pretty, like, it's a pretty robust novel, but you will breeze through it like in no time.
You sure will. And like I said, just read it as if Winter is talking to you, because that's how you'll get through a lot of her vernacular. But it's marvelous. I love the story. But yeah, that's it for The Coldest Winter Ever. And the next episode will be Life After Death, its sequel.
So see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to Books We Should Have Read. And don't forget to leave suggestions for books you would like us to read for future collections. This podcast is a Books We Should Have Read production with sound engineering and editing by About Right Media. The dope-ass track you hear in the background was produced by Ty.2. That's Ty, T-Y, .2WO on Instagram. Hey, Ty. Follow Books We Should Have Read on Instagram at Books We Should Have Read to stay up to date with all the BWSR happenings. Follow Ashley at Bashwiser on Instagram and me at Kelly Likes to Read on Instagram. If you like what you heard and you want to support this Black woman-owned and operated movement financially, there is an Anchor link in the show notes where you can do just that. Any and everything is welcome and appreciated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye y'all.